For many years, everyone thought they knew the Goslins, the ideal American family with 8 cute kids, a stern yet devoted mother, and a reality TV fantasy that enthralled millions. However, something far darker was going on behind the happy family dinners, matching attire, and smiles. Once Jon and Kate's quiet kid, Hannah Gosselin has grown up and is no longer keeping quiet. Her voice now conveys a reality that is far more nuanced than the glamorous world of Jon and Kate +8. Fans are devastated and stunned by what she's saying about her mother. The imaginary golden family. Hannah Gosselin's life was public knowledge before she could even walk. She was born in Hershey, Pennsylvania, on May 10, 2004, into a world already characterized by contracts, cameras, and expectations. Along with the older twin sisters, Mia and Cara, she was one of the well-known Gosselin sextuplets, along with Alexis, Hannah, Aidan, Colin, Leah, and Joel. When Jon and Kate +8 debuted on TLC in 2007, it was promoted as a touching depiction of a devoted marriage handling the turmoil of 8 kids. Every week, millions of people watched their cute family, Jay's easygoing humor, and Kate's straightforward parenting style. However, Hannah, who was only 3 years old when filming started, never experienced that idealized family picture. She was compelled to live the performance. Most spectators were unaware that the Gosselin house was no longer a place of residence. It was now a set. Nearly every room had cameras installed, recording everything from bedtime tantrums to morning routines. The show's unscripted plot included Hannah's emotions, laughing, and even self-control. "We are all representatives of the brand," Kate would frequently tell her kids. It was more than a family. It was an enterprise. Every grin may be sold. Every disagreement is an episode. Every birthday presents a chance for ratings. Hannah's early years were not spent in secret. It was shown on national television. The fissures were already visible underneath the upbeat narration and flawless editing. Naturally expressive and sensitive, Hannah found it difficult to live under her mother's strict rules. Kate had a reputation for being severe. She color-coded clothes, planned meals minute by minute, and demanded complete compliance. While some viewers applauded her discipline, others were uncomfortable when they witnessed her reprimanding the kids on video. As time went on, perceptive admirers noticed how frequently Hannah seemed distressed or withdrawn, particularly during tense situations. There was no privacy when living beneath Kate's roof. Millions of people were able to witness family arguments as well. Hannah went on to characterize that time as orderly anarchy in which looks were more important than feelings. The weariness and stress of constantly having to perform and appear joyful even when she wasn't were not captured by the cameras. In order to preserve the family's reputation, Hannah learned to repress her emotions while other kids her age played freely. The Goslins were all over the place when Jon and Kate +8 peaked. On talk shows, magazine covers, and even in tabloid controversies. The world loved them. Tension, however, increased inside the house. Under the public eye, Jon and Kate's marriage started to fall apart, and by 2009, their divorce had transformed from a personal tragedy into a spectacle. The magic was gone when the show changed its name to Kate +8. At the age of 5, Hannah was already experiencing the emotional toll of celebrity, and the family dynamic was shifting. Behind closed doors, there is a sinister side. The Goslins appeared to be the epitome of a modern family when Jon and Kate +8 debuted. 2 devoted parents, 8 lovely children, and a comfortable home full of learning and laughter. But inside those same confines, a completely other world emerged when the crew packed up and the lights went out. Even as a young child, Hannah Gosselin sensed that what millions of viewers loved was not what actually took place behind closed doors. Kate Gosselin adopted what many have called an authoritarian parenting style as a result of being overburdened by celebrity, pressure, and the duties of raising 8 children. Errors were rarely accepted, routines were revered, and rules were unbreakable. It appeared effective, even commendable, on television. However, Hannah found it oppressive. Every day has a minute-by-minute schedule. What to wear, when to eat, when to get up, and even how to smile for the cameras. She later acknowledged that we weren't merely living. We were giving a performance. Years later, however, the entire darkness became apparent as Hannah started to disclose the reality of life in the Gosselin household, especially for her brother Colin. Hannah ultimately spoke out in 2023 when she appeared on Vice TV's Dark Side of the 2000s. As she detailed her brother's loneliness, something the cameras had never captured, her voice was composed but heavy. He would not be allowed to play with us outside. He would have dinner at a separate time than us, she continued. What many fans had long assumed was proven by this terrifying news. That there was a problem with Colin's treatment. Hannah disclosed that her mother would keep Colin in what she called a containment space, a different room. He spent a lot of time there by himself, away from his siblings, and for no apparent reason. Years later, Colin himself attested to the worst. He had been confined to that chamber, bound with zip ties, and seen by surveillance cameras. She had a room built with cameras in it. He stated to the child, "My mother would put me there, bolt the door, and turn the lights off." Kate openly defended herself, claiming that experts had recommended sending Colin to a psychiatric facility and that he had special requirements. However, her own children's portrayal of her as a suffering mother who followed medical advice did not align with the image she presented. It was evident from Hannah's memories that Colin wasn't a difficult kid. He was quiet. Furthermore, it had nothing to do with his health to keep him apart from the family. It was a penalty. This was more than simply her brother for Hannah. It has to do with dread. She couldn't comprehend the emptiness she felt as she saw Colin go from their everyday existence. Something was constantly lacking. "We weren't Aid anymore," she would subsequently add. Colin was edited out of family moments, left out of festivities, and never addressed on air as the show went on. Hannah felt guilty about being silent because she was still too young to speak up. Fans who had previously viewed Kate as a symbol of tenacity started to doubt her strategies. Could the same mother who served as an inspiration to millions of mothers have traumatized her own children? Hannah's subdued testimony implied just that. And as the reality gradually came to light, it became evident that there was severe emotional harm hidden behind the Goslins' meticulously constructed image of purity and order, damage that could not be removed by post-production editing. Hannah didn't decide to speak up in order to exact retribution. It was about giving voice to the moments that the cameras missed. Her mother's depravity wasn't the only thing she disclosed in 2023. It revealed the cost of being raised in a household where love had to fit into a television schedule. For years, Hannah believed that the family's reputation had been safeguarded by quiet. Even if it meant confronting the unpleasant reality about the woman the world once referred to as America's supermom, speaking up would at last relieve her of the burden. The 2018 escape was a breakaway. For years, Hannah and Kate's stress increased in silence. At the age of 14 in 2018, Hannah was prepared to make a decision that would permanently alter both her life and the Gosselin family. She chose to live with her father, Jon Gosselin, after being under her mother's care for almost 10 years. Making that choice was difficult. Following their acrimonious 2009 divorce, Kate was granted primary custody of all 8 children, while Jon was mostly depicted in the media as the unstable parent. Hannah, however, perceived a different opportunity for tranquility. For a long time, Jon, who had been cut off from the majority of his children, had accused Kate of being too controlling. He became aware of Hannah's nervousness and guardedness when she started coming to see him more frequently. She gradually began staying at his house for extended lengths of time until she eventually told him she didn't want to return. Jon later said that he was motivated to fight for custody by Hannah's bravery. He remembered that she was courageous. All she wanted was to lead a typical life. Following a quiet court proceeding, Jon was given complete custody of Hannah in 2018. Colin, who had been placed in a behavioral facility at the age of 12, was soon discharged and joined them. 2 of the 8 Gosselin kids were no longer under Kate's authority for the first time. However, there was a price for this independence. Hannah's bond with her siblings broke down. Contact became infrequent. Awkward visits. Distance and allegiance now separated the once inseparable sextuplets. Some with Jon, others with Kate. It was portrayed by the tabloids as just another round of the Gosselin family conflict. However, it was much easier for Hannah. Enduring. Later on, she said that her life with Jon was typical. In her world, that word was very important. She finally had room to breathe, talk, and feel safe after years of filming, planning, and discipline. The viewpoint, suffering, and sympathy of a daughter. Hannah never used her narrative as an attack, despite the headlines about betrayal and custody disputes. Even in interviews, her tone has consistently been controlled, measured, and emotional. "My mom wasn't perfect," she once remarked. "No parent is." Even though it's a straightforward line, it conveys her complex emotions, a combination of suffering and empathy that only a kid of public chaos could comprehend. Hannah started talking about what it was like to grow up under continual pressure, while some of her siblings kept quiet. According to her, everything had to be about the brand. Every disagreement, every grin, and every wardrobe had to reflect the image their mother wanted the world to see. She abided by their guidelines for years. However, she became aware of how different life could be after moving in with Jon. In one interview, she said, "I can finally be myself." I no longer represent anyone. Jon said Hannah could find healing in his house. The cameras, the strict meal plans, and the emotional strain were all gone. Hannah experienced privacy for the first time. She might be a teenager, make errors, and have friends. She didn't forget her siblings, either, even as she started over. They're part of me in a way no one else can understand, she stated. Hannah frequently said that the person she stayed closest to was her sister Leah. She never gave up on the hope that the family would eventually get back together without the cameras, the contracts, the suffering, Colin's voice, and the public backlash, despite the distance and emotional barriers. If Hannah's testimony made the truth more accessible, Colin's account completely exposed it. He disclosed unsettling information about his early years in interviews conducted throughout 2023, stating that Kate started abusing him when he was 8 or 9 years old. He claimed that simply for being in the way, he was singled out, disciplined more severely than his siblings, and imprisoned. Even if his statements were disturbing, it was more difficult to disregard them because of his composed delivery. He claimed that she had a room equipped with cameras.